I'm really thrilled to introduce panel 2 and so honored and pleased that Ann Kovalchick, the CIO at UC Merced, is here to moderate the panel for us. So she will help lead us through some stories from technologists, engineers, and research facilitators. So I'll turn it over to Ann.
Thank you, Camille. That was a fabulous video. And I'm Ann Kovalchick, Chief Information Officer at UC Merced. UC Merced is an unfunded participant in the PRP, and we have benefited enormously from the generosity of people across the community. And I think that underscores that while the fundamental transformative impact of the PRP is the acceleration of science, there is underlying a system of humans who bring talent and expertise to the project and remain critical to its scale and sustainability. So what we're going to do today is a quick round of introductions, and then we will dive into some specific perspectives. And we have really tried to time this to make sure that we can provide some time at the end for some interactivity and questions. So I'm going to start with John. If you could maybe give us a brief self-intro, your role in the PRP community, and tell us what is a key lesson about innovation that you've learned from the PRP experience.
Sure, I'm John Graham. I'm the chief architect and of the platform and the hardware that forms the Pacific Research Platform Nautilus Hypercluster. I have a very checkered background, starting out in industrial automation and process control and evolving into nanotechnology, and then my current incarnation of network guy. Lessons learned, my gosh, there's so many. Keeping up with the latest hardware and software platforms is very important for my role. Embracing reality of constantly evolving technology. Be adventurous, not conservative, and then learn it and teach it. That's my bottom line.
Thank you. Sana.
Thank you, Ann. Hello, everyone. My name is Sana Bellamy. I'm with the Scenic Network Engineering team, but also with the Pacific Wave Network Engineering team. My role with the PRP has been to support the network infrastructure used by PRP members. It all started for me with the PRP years 1 and 2 when we brought up the first set of 100 gig connections for the California-based PRP members. These connections are now used primarily as science DMZs. So as a network engineer, I had multiple opportunities to view applications running on top of the PRP infrastructure, such as the ones we saw, the great ones we saw today. And the key lesson is that as a network engineer supporting the PRP, the expectation from the network supporting PRP is for it to perform as close as possible to a local area network because of the distributed nature of these applications. So for that, as a community, I think we're able to achieve that goal by having a highly tuned network and by carefully selecting network components with enough buffering and so forth. And I also think we have the right set of tools in place, persistent tools such as perf sonar, to measure the performance of the network and then work together when there's an issue to resolve that issue. And of course, we're not done. The next set of applications will push the network to the next level, and we're already planning for that.
Thank you. Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Kirianis, Chief Technology Officer at NYSERNet, and we've been collaborating with the PRP and the NRP teams for about 4 years now. And when we first got started, we wanted to understand if there was a role for regional R&E providers such as ourselves within this platform. Obviously, plenty of research institutions are involved. And so we spent lots of time collaborating with John, Tom DeFonte, Dima, and the team, and learning. Spent a lot of time learning and working through cookbooks and building things, experimenting with the Fionas and building systems of our own. We got to the point where we wanted to try our hand at this. And so it took quite a bit of time. And we finally got to a point where we were ready to federate a few very modest Fionas of our own construction. And we're skeptical, is this going to work? What's it going to do? And lo and behold, we clicked the federation button, so to say, and the CPU skyrocketed from 0 to 100%. Containers are being built, storage is being allocated. and sitting back watching this and say, wow, this really does work. And so kind of bring that back. And so there was a lesson there. And I think that, yeah, innovation comes in all shapes and sizes, and certainly built on collaborations. I think the R&D community is really good at, and flexibility, not being tied into a single kind of construct or model. And it doesn't have to be crazy expensive either. You know, demonstrated that you can do this quite cost efficiently.
Thank you, Jim. Richard.
Hi, glad to be here. I'm Richard Delowe, Dean of Science and Technology here at Florida A&M University. My key role is really outreach to our minority serving institutions, our HBCUs, our HSIs, Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, and native Pacific Island institutions. So the impact of innovation, looking at our MSIs, providing our HBCUs and MSIs with the tools and education about cyber infrastructure, networking, new computing environments, getting them engaged with the Nautilus, for example, can and will help us in many ways to leapfrog into modernizing our curriculum, providing new research collaborations, etc. as we move into the world of big data science and engineering, which we are wanting very much to do. And the new fields of applied mathematics, such as deep learning, as we move to provide artificial intelligence and data science across the curriculum, which our state university systems are promoting. So innovation provides our MSIs new horizons, and we're all on board. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. We know that one strategy for scaling and sustaining the PRP is to clone John Graham, and presumably somebody's working on that. But until we are able to fully implement that, we're going to need a plan B. And so each of our guests are going to offer a bit of a story, a perspective. John's going to talk a little bit about the story of automation, Sana, the story of evolution, and building out that network capacity she referenced. Jim's going to talk about the story of adoption from configuration to workflow. And then Richard will dive into the stories around institutional support and funding specific to MSIs. Each individual will be sharing their slides. So John, why don't you go ahead?